So welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to our Sacred Sexuality and the Chakras presentation. I'm Christine Renee and this is Jim Macdonald.
Yes, I am.
I am sure some of you want to know a little bit about who we are, what our background is on these topics. So I think we're just going to take a hot minute to share a little bit about that and then we'll dive into the presentation.
Yes. So you have a background in chakras.
I do.
In fact, when I first met you, it was at a meditation you were leading on the chakras.
Yeah, so I've been teaching chakras for a really long time.
Yeah, that was
Um,
2019. That was a while ago.
that was a while ago. And basically, what happened for me is I was really not in a good, healthy place physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. And my route to healing and wholeness was through the lens of the chakras. So I started studying the chakras and doing Reiki for the chakras and dressing for the chakras and kind of became a little obsessed and changed my wardrobe and became really colorful and really found a lot of support and finding peace and alignment through what the chakras had to offer. Really understanding myself came through the chakras. And so it's been a lot of self-study, but I even taught in 2021. I think it was 2021, I taught a chakra clairvoyant coaching certification for a 7-month program. So I've definitely, I've been in it. I've taught it for years and years. It's always been a part of my Reiki classes and I just really enjoy it.
Yeah. So you want, that's interesting. So I could go on for a while about my path through the chakras. I will start just by saying I'm a licensed chakra dance facilitator, which is a dance healing modality that was obviously, you could say people have been dancing the chakras for thousands of years, but there's a modality called chakra dance that was developed in Australia in 1998 by a woman named Natalie Southgate. And I, in 2017, was trained to be a chakra dance facilitator. And I've offered classes here in the Bozeman area, but I also even co-facilitated with Natalie a 7-month deep dive course way back in 2019, 2020
Mhm.
while everything was happening. So it was an interesting time to be doing a deep dive in the chakras. I also am a tantra teacher in training, and that's a huge part of tantra. So I was first introduced through my tantra work a long time ago, and it just has kept growing from there. So excited to talk about it because in tantra, which we're going to be offering a class, the chakras are present and we're
Mhm.
often moving energy through the chakra system.
Yeah, which is why I love it so much. So, I think I have also had a big interest in sacred sexuality for a really long time, whether it was in my midwifery days or whether it was, I've taught sex ed for middle schoolers multiple years. So, yeah, it's just part of who I am. So let's dive in because one of the reasons why this spurred an interest is I posted in our Facebook group, Shamanic Mystics Moon Rising Facebook group, about where do you think sexuality lives in the chakras? And a lot of people had differing opinions. And I was like, oh, we should just totally just do a presentation on this. So here we are.
So, what are the chakras? Or do you say chakras?
We'll talk about it. And we'll get into how to let go of the dogma, how the chakras inform our sexual selves, how does energy move through the chakras, how chakra awareness supports tantric practices, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end.
So, we have a lot of ground to cover.
We do, but overall, we're going to give you the surface layer, the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the chakras.
Okay.
Okay. So the chakras are energy centers within the body, and they're translated from Sanskrit as a wheel.
So, what do you mean when you say they're energy centers within the body?
So they're actually connected to this nervous system plexi underneath each of the centers in the body. There's actually a nervous system plexi. So it's got an electromagnetic field. It's got and they're also connected in with our emotional range. Like they're so complex in my mind, right? So the energy centers, we have 7 primary. So if someone asks you how many chakras are there, you're going to get a ton of different answers, and that's okay. Tonight, we're going to focus on the primary seven because most schools of thought focus on these seven as well.
Although you could think of chakras as the color continuum. Like
Mhm.
if you look at the colors on your screen, they're rainbow. It's the rainbow. It's the Roy G. Biv rainbow. And if you think about it, there could be as many colors in between as, and any color in between could be considered an energy center, a chakra. Um, we're just we're just going to present what we know, but part of what we're trying to urge is that you may have your own experience with the chakras,
Mhm.
and you may come to your own understanding, and different schools will have different understandings, and we aren't giving you the answer on the chakras.
Mhm.
What we're actually inviting in is this idea of, hey, there may be these energy centers,
Mhm.
and you may have a different experience. How might we do practices that allow you to figure out what that relationship is?
Exactly. Yeah. And so you'll see them in the rainbow, you'll see them with white or gold at the top. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that these are presented. And I would say personally, I like seeing it as a rainbow, but I don't think that's necessarily, I don't think there's a lot of facts with these. We're going to go through the chakras from the root through the crown and just give you a little snapshot of each. So we're going to start at root chakra. And so it's located at the perineum. So I like to think of it as pubic bone and down, meaning everything is included from pubic bone and down, but where is it specifically?
I don't
That's debatable, right?
know. Well, yes, for sure. So typically you could put it there, pubic bone and down. Sometimes it's down, right? Connected to the center of the earth. The chakra goes all the way down to the center of the earth in the way it's typically stated. Does it include our genitals? Does it not include our genitals? Is that more in the next chakra that we're going to talk about? Is it in this chakra? That's not something we are going to define. In fact, I've studied two different schools. I study sky dancing tantra that includes the genitals and the root. I study chakra dance, which puts them in the sacral chakra.
And I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I think that you can think of root chakra with its foundation and safety of going, this might be your anus, this might be your vulva, like the exterior, but not the internal for women. So I think there's a lot of different debate on exactly where our sexual organs lay when it comes to the chakras. And so I think that's, you can kind of feel into it, what is true for you. Know that the root chakra is often depicted as red, and that the inherent right of this chakra is to have. It's about making sure you have all of your basic fundamental needs met. And it also has a very primal energy to it. Yeah. You want to speak to that?
Well, primal energy. So sometimes it's associated with the idea of power animals,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. It also is related to the earth. So our groundedness, that's the whole idea of having our needs met.
Mhm.
So our ground, our safety, our physical needs. Now, obviously, our whole body is physical, and you may feel that physicality somewhere else. I think it's just an interesting question to notice. Is there this part of you that you notice? Where do you notice it in your body? Traditionally, it's here. You may be like, oh, when I think of safety, it goes to my head. That's fine. Just notice these things.
Mhm.
But it is about having needs met. It's about, yeah, primality could be about ancestors, that
Mhm.
sort of thing.
Mhm.
Roots.
Roots. All right, moving on to sacral chakra. Sacral chakra is located between the pubic bone and the navel. For women, I often think of like this is your womb space, right? This is your pelvic bowl holds all of those really important organs. So for the men, it's still the prostate. It's still like, so it's that whatever's in the pelvic bowl is one way to think about it. And once again, it's kind of up for debate about where do our sexual organs really lay, which one, root or sacral, the physicality of it all.
True. The element for this, even though we don't have it on here, is water. So
Mm-hmm.
think of flow, think of sensuality, think of your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
think of whatever in you receives. It's about
Yes,
receiving.
that's such a good point. It's about being receptive, right? You're receiving. It vibrates, it's orange. The inherent right is to feel. So oftentimes in sacral chakra, this is where you know that all of your emotions are valid. And it's very creative, it's very artistic, it's very sensual because that's part of the feeling nature of it. And so the affirmation for the chakra would be I create, I'm a sensual being, enjoy the pleasures of life.
So it's an interesting thing because I would identify sexual energy with creativity. So that would be an argument for the sacral in that sense.
Yeah, I typically put it there. All right, now we have the solar plexus chakra, which is located between the navel and the sternum. So it's right,
So we're here finally. Yeah.
right beneath your ribs, where the ribs come together. That's like the typical spot, right? And it's also associated with your GI health, your stomach, your liver, all of your internal organs that are in the belly are typically seen as solar plex, like related to solar plexus.
And the element for it is fire. It's about activity. It's about trusting your gut. It's about also the ability to set boundaries.
Yes. Motivation, letting things go, having like that firm, it's like your no center. Like, I'm not available for this. I'm letting that go. I can be, is also very much correlated with your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-love. Like, all of that is solar plexus too.
So when someone says act from your gut, they're really talking about your solar plexus. Again, you may feel that somewhere else in your body, but that is typically where I feel it.
Yeah.
If I'm going to act, I feel it. That's my center of gravity, honestly, when I'm moving.
Right. Yeah. The tandian. That's what they call it in Chinese medicine. And its inherent right is to act. Like, it's very action oriented.
So if you looked at the sacral, that was about receptivity. This is almost the opposite. This is about acting.
Right. And oftentimes I've seen it depicted where your sacral chakra is your divine feminine, your solar plexus is your sacred masculine. And then as we move into heart, it's like the union of both. It's the finding the balance between your masculine and feminine energies.
If we're fortunate.
Right. So the heart chakra really is in the center of your chest, located between that sternum and your collarbone. But it is right here in the center, and it does correlate with your physical heart, your immune system, your blood, and and your lungs, because it's correlated with air. That's the element, is air, and how do we breathe? And so that's kind of the physicality of it.
And even more, if you think about the lungs
Arms.
extending out your arms and your hands. So sometimes there'll be chakras that people will identify there. But you can, if you use the 7 system, it's a really expansive chakra. And the element for it is air, as you might imagine, because our lungs are in it. So it is about our love. It's about forgiveness. It is about self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others. Can I breathe into it? How does that feel? The lightness or the heaviness that you feel within you.
Yeah, I often think about this is where you live out loud. The lower 3 chakras are very interpersonal, like they're about your relationship with yourself. Whereas when you move into the heart, this is exterior. This is living my life out loud. This is about relationships. How do I receive love, kindness, support in my life? And how do I offer love, kindness, support, right? Like, it's an balance of those two. That left side being your feminine energy side, your right side being your masculine energy side.
It's also at the center of our chakra system, at least if we understand it as going up and down a body. And if we think about it, the first 3 were material, and we went from earth to water to fire to air. So things are kind of rising to a more spiritual place. And the heart is sort of that, not only the union of the masculine and the feminine you, but the union of your body and your spirit in your body.
I love that. Yum. So the inherent right is to love. The affirmation would be, I am loving and lovable. All right, which brings us to the throat chakra. Right? It's about your voice. You want to think about, oftentimes it's seen as right directly on the throat where the thyroid is, but it also includes everything from collarbone to your ears, right? So including your sinuses, your jaw, your mouth, like all of this is also throat chakra. And so, yeah, it has to do with that thyroid, and that would be where the nervous system plexi is in that thyroid area. And it's about communication, like not only in communicating your needs, desires, wants, your fears, your boundaries, but also listening to others. So it's not about listening to respond, it's about listening to hear. And that's oftentimes I get frustrated with people talking about throat because it's just about a one-way communication. I'm going to talk. And I'm like, oh, wait, you got to hear equally.
And it's also listening to yourself through
Mm-hmm.
that process. So if we think about the throat chakra, if we use it with the system that includes the ears, the nose, the mouth, it involves listening just as much as it involves speaking. That sometimes keeps people who have very quiet voices and like, oh, I like to listen. And so you may still have someone out of balance in that throat chakra if you're just listening all the time or if you're just speaking all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, go ahead.
And I definitely see it both ways. Like there are some people who are really quiet or really loud, and it's recognizing in yourself, like, am I communicating my needs, desires, wants, fears, boundaries, those types of things, or am I holding back? It's when you're biting your tongue and not speaking up. Or on the other hand, I've had clients that they will constantly speak so they don't have to hear the issues going on in their world, to the point where I've had clients starting to go deaf at age 40 because they can't stop talking because they don't want to recognize what's happening in their own their own family relationships.
And since we're talking about sexual energy and the senses, don't forget that your sense of taste and your sense of smell
Are there too. It's
are
like,
there too. And your sense of hearing. So three of your five senses are located in your heart
well,
or in
and
your
the
throat
and
chakra.
also the touch, like that's happening here too. So
Right, and touch is happening everywhere,
everywhere, right?
presumably. But yeah,
So it's very it's also the most narrow of the chakras. So I always find that interesting. Your heart is like the widest part of your body, and your throat is the most narrow of your body. And so sometimes I see people get bottlenecked here with the energy flow. And so it's something to be aware of like, how am I not moving the energy from below up or the energy from above down through that throat?
and the element is ether.
Cool. So yeah, this is about expression, expressing your truth, your purpose, and listening compassionately. Third eye chakra is typically located between your eyebrows, right at the forehead. And it's usually depicted as indigo. And I think a lot of people think about intuition, and I always encourage about perception. How do I see the world? What glasses am I looking through? Am I wearing rosy colored glasses? How am I interpreting the world as it's presented to me? And as you do that, this is about how are you thinking about it? How are you learning? What's your intuition? What's your spiritual gifts? What have you seen beyond? So it can be very multifaceted.
I'd also say it's about your imagination.
Yes.
And your imagination in the wildest sense possible. It can go anywhere. So if intuition is, in a sense, seeing things as they are through your mind's eye, imagination is seeing what's possible through your mind's eye. And they're both really part of the third eye.
Yeah.
The element would be light.
I'm like,
But it's a matter of trust. So in a way, if you think about it, we're considering all of these chakras through a third eye lens. We're saying, what are these things? How do we tell them apart? We're using our third eye the whole time that
Yeah.
we're understanding. This
Yes.
is a third eye practice in a way,
Yes.
this webinar.
Well, and I loved teaching my students that the imagination is where the divine can communicate with you, because it's so true. When like your imagination station is open to possibility, you have this receiving energy coming in from the crown, which is where we're going next.
Ah.
So the crown chakra is located at the top of the head or just above the head, right? Like if you had a crown on, that energy right above it is where the crown chakra would be. And oftentimes it's depicted as violet or gold or light energy. And I like to think of it as big picture thoughts. How do I see the world as separation is an illusion? What's my place in the world in a big picture? Whereas root chakra is very detailed oriented. Crown chakra is very big picture oriented,
Universal.
universal.
Yeah, it's a connection with the universe. It's the oneness. It's the acknowledging that everything, however distinct we make it, in the end, it's all just one with ourselves as well. So it's not only connection with the universe as far as it goes, but our deepest connection with all that we are, all that is. The element for it is spirit. So it is our most spiritual of the chakras, and it's yeah, in essence, we're all connected through our crown chakra. Although I like to think of it as also because it's connected to everything. If we think of that wheel, what chakra means in the Sanskrit, that wheel can connect back to the root.
Absolutely.
So we look at ourselves as up and down, but if we think of it in terms of a system, it really connects back down.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So
Yeah.
it connects everywhere.
Right.
But one of the places it connects is right back down.
And I love to think of it like it's an energy flow where it can move. We're receiving up from the earth, and that energy field is moving through the body and out into the auric field and reconnecting back down again. And then it can also go opposite. So I like you can think of it both ways because there's a lot of different healing modalities like Reiki where you're receiving down and then it's coming all the way through and up back out. So there's a lot of energy movement possible through the chakras.
Yeah. You can see my
Purple hat.
we froze for a moment, but yes, my violet hat.
Mhm.
Unless you're listening, and then you cannot see it.
And that's why one of the reasons why we wanted to add in like letting go of the dogma of the chakras is because it's really important to understand how does this apply to yourself? How do you feel it? Because so often we see the chakras taught as, okay, it's got to be this topic has to fit into this box and it's the only way it's got to be. And I'm all about breaking the box and be like, maybe it doesn't work that way. Maybe we can see it as a multifaceted, multidimensional topic and that it's not necessarily so structured, so black and white.
Yeah, people have very strong opinions on chakras, even how to pronounce the word chakra, which in Sanskrit is a ch, but people say chakra, and I know what they mean, and I think that is fine for me. Other people may object. People have very strong feelings about the color. People have very strong feelings about the placement. People have very strong feelings about the number. People have very strong feelings about what's involved with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I must admit, I don't have those strong feelings. What I want people to notice is, do we have these different aspects of ourselves? Does that generally make sense to us? Where do we feel them in our body? And it may or may not be in those spots.
Right.
You may or may not associate the same things as the things that we're talking about. But I believe Tantra is about removing the conditioning from the society and coming to your own experiential idea of it. And if you listen to our other webinar and our podcast where we talk about Tantra, we talk about the experiential nature of Tantra.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to encourage an experiential relationship with chakras where you come to your own understanding of those, and we cannot be dogmatic if that's the case.
Right.
And if you're very dogmatic about the chakras, Tantra might be a little difficult for you. I wouldn't say it would be bad for you. It'd be a great practice to try to see how that validates your view.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
But but it's going to be more challenging than having an open relationship with what might be possible.
Right. I think that's where we get into the third eye of like, how are we perceiving this? Are we bringing in a closed-mindedness to say that this is not in my realm of possibility because of X, Y, and Z? It doesn't fit into the structure that I need to have, right? So it's just something to be aware of and an encouragement to be open-minded around how you feel. And if it makes sense according to what we just described, fantastic. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Exactly. Write that down in stone. It's true.
It's true. This is it. So a lot of you came on tonight because you wanted to hear about how the chakras inform our sexual selves. And I love this conversation because I really do believe our sexual selves is our whole self, and that it's going to be influenced by each of these chakras in a different way. And so that's what we want to talk about now.
I know in the class we'll probably talk more about what that means, but what do you mean when you, in maybe in a brief way, what do you mean when you say the sexual self is the whole self?
That you can experience sexuality and sensuality with your whole being, your mind, body, spirit, whole being.
So in our society, we've typically identified sexual experience with a genital experience, with the orgasm being in this genital experience.
Right.
And we've talked a little about where those genitals may be in the chakra system, but we're saying actually you can take the energy, which is both in the genitals and actually in other parts of your body, integrate them and let them flow
Right.
through the chakra system. In my school, it's something called the inner flute, that we're moving that energy up from the ground all the way up through the crown or to different levels. It doesn't have to go through the crown, but the goal, there aren't really goals, but if you were to have a goal, it would be to move that energy up all the way through the crown. But really, it's just to be and to notice and to see what happens inside of you.
Right. And so we wanted to actually break it down into the chakras. One way you could think about it would be, okay, so if we're looking at root, where is that primal nature within ourselves that want to experience this, right? What's the what's the physical need to have sex, right? And that oftentimes would be driving the root to have a fundamental sexual need met. Versus sacral chakra might be much more in the creativity of the sexual experience. The the creativity, the flow, it's the sensual nature of it all, right? And so those can be complementary and very satisfying just to experience those differences, right? And how they interact as a sexual self. You want to add to that? Or do you want me to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay.
You're on a roll.
So where it's like
It's the wheel of the chakra spinning.
I'm going to go for it then. So solar plexus, oftentimes I think about where's my self-esteem at, right? And so if you have a low self-esteem, if you have body image issues, if you're not feeling good about yourself, how's that going to impact your sex life, right? If you feel really whole and complete, like I'm amazing, I love myself, I know what I'm doing in all of this, or whatever it may be, that's going to help impact a healthy sex life. Versus if you're really concerned about how do I look, how am I breathing, what am I doing with my body, is that acceptable or not? Like if there's an over analysis of waiting for your validation to come from someone else, that's going to be a solar plexus issue.
I would add one other thing that you can go solar plexus the other way. Be overconfident.
Yes.
Have too much of a sense of yourself. Be be so arrogant that you think you're, say, a man as God's gift to women, for instance, would be solar plexus gone wrong the other direction. And both are possible in each of these chakras, where you can have an underabundance or an overabundance, depending on how we look at it, and they can apply sexuality. Did you want to go through the other four? Or are we going to go?
I'm totally.
All right, keep going.
Well, and I think this is important because I think that's it. Like noticing if you're lower on the energy for this chakra or higher on, like, which way are you swinging on the pendulum, overly abundant or less, right? And so in the heart space, this is about connection. This is about relationship. So obviously that's going to impact your sexual nature with your partner. Or is this about self-pleasure? And are you able to know that you're worthy to receive, right? Is that sacral? Is that heart? Is it both? You know, all of that's so important in this. And so the throat is so much about communicating your boundaries, communicating what you want, communicating what your fears are, so that the sexual experience that you do have, it can be a pleasurable one for both people in that dynamic, if there is a partnership happening.
And think about the connection between your lips kissing and your genitals too. So if we just want to look at a physical level, it's clear that the expression through the one is related to the other.
Yeah, it's actually like where the cervix for women and the vocal cords, if you put them side by side, it's really hard to tell the difference between which sphincter is which I think is amazing because as you bring your pitch higher, your cervix will tighten. Like all of these things are just really cool to me, right? To understand that our voice has so much of an impact on physical body. So vibrational healing, all for it, right? We want to use our tonality, our emotional energy to bring that energy up and through our throat chakra versus third eye, which we spoke about with the imagination and being able to have the perception of what kind of experience that you want. Like, can you envision it? And can you create it through that third eye space?
Also, if you think about connection, right? If we're moving energy and we're in the flow, we might in the moment be able to be more spontaneous, more flowing in our sex life. So even though we're talking about systems and processes and exercises, there is room for spontaneity. And I believe that spontaneity really can express itself through a wide open third eye.
Right. And notice if it's not, right? If your perception is like, I'm going to be hurt, I'm going to be shamed, I'm going to be like whatever your thoughts are telling you, and that's your perception of what your sex life is or will be, or whatever, like how is that going to impact your sex life?
Mhm.
Right? So notice what you're thinking about and and this goes back to like how are you communicating those fears, right? And so these all and then this is going back to losing the dogma because they're all flowing within one another, right? To where crown, if you are really flowing all this energy through your seven chakras and you bring that energy all the way up to crown, it's the cosmic orgasm. And this is the whole body physical, mental, emotional, spiritual experience of that really beautiful sexual self, right? Like,
Right. And in our class, we're not going to be moving energy quite. We may move energy to the crown, but we're not going to do some of the practices that are more advanced
mhm.
that involves. But I would encourage you to read a book called The Art of Sexual Ecstasy by Margot Anand, where she describes practices that do that. And it's pretty yummy.
It's pretty yummy.
Beyond, I'm understating it. It's incredible.
All right. So how does energy move through the chakras? And I've got to say, there's 101 ways. There's so many ways to move energy through the chakras.
Only
You know that.
101.
Probably thousands, millions. There's lots of ways. There's lots of ways. And I think for my background, my experience, a lot of it has been through Reiki. Like I knew about how to move energy and how to move energy within the body and through the chakras was always my foundation was in my Reiki practice, right? And so then bringing in this awareness of, oh, I can use it with breath, I can move it with sound, I can do it with movement. That from the tantric practices really helps ignite and really have more even more self-awareness of like wow I can move this way as well.
Yeah, we talked a lot about this in our previous webinar where we talked about the three keys. In our
Mhm.
class, if you take it, we're going to have weeks specifically devoted to breath, sound, and movement. But what we are going to be doing, and what we did not really talk about in that webinar, is we're going to be moving it through what I mentioned earlier, the inner flute.
Mhm.
So the inner flute is basically, think of it as a channel that goes all the way up through your body. You can think of it as, going up the back and down the front. It doesn't really matter. Just imagine almost like this almost cylindrical thing going up through your body. And we're going to be breathing and moving and sounding, but starting with breath. We're going to be moving that breath up through the root chakra, all the way up as far as we can go through that, through different
Mhm.
practices. And we will do practices that go to the crown, especially in the breath work week and maybe in the other weeks as well, where we're still working out some of our curriculum, but and some of that's going to be based on, the needs of the class, of course. But we're going to be moving that energy. And if we move that energy, we help integrate the energy in our chakras because we've talked about how there could be blockages, how there be overabundance and underabundance. If we move that energy, we can better integrate that energy. At least that's the theory, and that's my personal experience. That the
Mhm.
more I move, the more I sound, the more I breathe, the more whole, I feel,
Hmm.
because I am whole, but I feel that wholeness. I feel that wholeness in my body, and I'm happier. A lot happier.
Yeah, and I threw in some of these photos as well, these pictures, these diagrams, because this is just another way to look at that inner flute is that the shushumna nadi, this energy pathway center line. And then you have these energies that move through each of the chakras up the center, the flute, the shushumni. So I've seen it a lot of ways. I just know from personal experience, it feels amazing to move your energy through your chakras. And whether you're doing that through breath, movement, sound, Reiki, or whatever it may be, it's such a powerful experience to feel where the energy is available to flow to, and then recognize, oh, there's a stagnation. There's something in the way here that's not allowing it to move further. And then using these practices, you're kind of energetically busting through that stagnation. And that's what feels really incredible too, is that learning how to do this for yourself moves energy so that you're in alignment, you're in your optimal flow.
Now, it may not feel amazing at first because you are releasing that energy.
Right.
Really hard things may come up. You
Absolutely.
may start crying. You may start feeling a lot of resistance. You may
Mhm.
feel not great at
Right.
first. And we're just going to urge you to notice those experiences and see for yourself and interpret for yourself what that means.
Right.
Um, in my own experience, yeah, it often took a lot of tears to get to the joyful place. Now I don't have quite as many tears, or if I do, they're very joyful tears when
Mhm.
I do. But at first, yes, it was often a really challenging experience, and your body might say, whoa, this is too much too fast. And so you should always listen to your body and take it at its pace. These practices can be adjusted, but these are the tools to move it. And I have found in my own experience, it does end up in an absolutely amazing place.
Absolutely. So, how can chakra awareness support your tantric practices? That's a lot of what we've just been talking about. It's really understanding those feelings of the chakras, what obstacles are in the way, how can we bring the energy through them to really increase aliveness, to live an ecstatic life, to live a life that contains bliss and pleasure and just bigger, fuller awareness.
Right. And notice there are two separate ideas going on here. One is subtle awareness, the other is the feelings and the increasing of aliveness. So we're moving energy. Energy is typically identified as Shakti. So we're moving energy, Shakti energy through our body, sexual energy. And we're using Shiva energy, awareness. We're aware, we're intentional in our moving of that through the body. So we're bringing what is often considered our masculine and our feminine together through that. So we had masculine and feminine chakras, but we can also think of the process of being aware and moving the energy as another masculine feminine union. And if in tantric theory, if those two are in balance within ourselves, we are able to increase our aliveness, expand.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yes, please, and more. So I would love to open it up for questions. If you guys have any questions, know that this is once again the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to be offering in our 5-week masterclass. This can be for individuals, this can be for couples, this can be your perfect date night once a week, or
You can bring a friend.
you can bring a friend. Like if you have a practice, someone you can practice with, and you want to join with a friend, you are more than welcome to, because all of these practices that we're going to be doing are going to be energy enhancers through breath, sound, and movement. You can practice sacred space with a friend just like you could a spouse, right? So know that whoever you're practicing with, whether you're alone in the practice, things are always going to be adjusted for that. And know that if you are in a relationship, these are also going to be really supportive
Mhm.
practices.
Yeah, You're going to have options, but the idea of Tantra is that you're complete as you are right now, that nobody is responsible for your pleasure. You're responsible for your own pleasure. So as a solo, that's obvious, right? That you're able to practice this by yourself.
I
But
just
with
want to be like, say that louder in the back for the people who didn't hear it. You're whole and complete on your own.
yes, whole and complete on your own. But it is also beautiful and powerful and to be in witness of each other in partnership.
Mhm.
And that can also bring up the edges because you now have to communicate those desires, fears, and boundaries, not just to yourself, but to someone else. So sometimes the growth can be, I don't know, slightly faster sometimes,
Mhm.
but also more challenging with a
Mhm.
partner.
Yeah.
Recognizing it is still you doing the work, whether you're with a partner or not, it's
Mhm.
you who are doing it. And either practice can be a powerful way to go through Tantra.
Mhm.
I have typically in my own training been a solo, but I've had to partner with a whole bunch of different people through that process. And I've learned the power of being in my own energy while with
Mhm.
someone who I'm not romantically attached to.
Right. Right. And I started my tantra journey as a, doing the practice for me, myself, and I, and it was amazing to do that, right? Like to know that I'm responsible for the own energy movement within me. And that when I am joined in partnership, then I'm like, I know how to take care of myself and my own energy. And then it can be an enhancer, like when we bring in the sacred space, the communication, the understanding of what our intentions are, and letting that creative flow and spontaneity unfold as it will.
And we're practicing that right now. We're offering you a webinar. We're doing this together as a couple. We're in partnership. We had to develop this together. We had to figure this out. We're in our own tantric practice
Mm-hmm.
right now. We actually happen to be in a sacred space that we did beforehand
Mm-hmm. We did.
to to create the container for this.
Yeah.
So I am managing my own energy. She's managing her own energy, and we're going to communicate about it.
Yeah, exactly. So the first week's class is going to be on creating sacred space. So we're really going to teach a very specific um, ceremony based off of who was it, Margot?
Margot came up with the original idea. Then
Mhm.
the ceremony we did was created by a couple, Steve and Lakita
That's right.
Carter.
Which came up with this really amazing ceremony to how do you create a sacred space that feels really good individually so that you feel comfortable to share your desires, fears, and boundaries. So we're going to walk you through the process of how to have sacred space. And that can be utilized in your relationship and as well as with clientele, with your family members. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a sexual experience. It's about creating a sacred space to have deep, meaningful conversations and connection.
Yeah, you can have sacred space with friends, with
Mhm.
coworkers. We did this with your community
We
members.
did.
So this is the ground of all the rest of the work. Everything is going to be in some form of sacred space,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean it has to, it's like a great tool to be used whether or not applying it to your
Sex life.
sex life or your sexual energy or
Right. Yeah. So that's week one. And then week two, we're gonna start off with doing focusing on breath, one of the keys of Tantra. And so we will be creating our sacred space in a like shortened version so that we can actually we'll have a short mini lesson on why breath is a key to Tantra, how to utilize breath, and then we're going to be doing breath work practices.
right. And we'll probably always have some kind of movement practice to start, even though movement's one of the weeks,
Mhm.
just to get energy up. Because Tantra is about moving energy. You don't get that just by sitting in a chair the way we are in this webinar.
And it's
So
free.
there will
Yeah.
be, it is an experiential
It
class.
is an experiential class. We're going to have somatic exercises every week, right? And they're doable exercises so that you can tangibly do them during class, watch the replay, follow along, and then when you're comfortable, do them as a practice on your own. Like we want to make sure that it's tangible for everyone to learn it and then do it with
And
practice.
you can say no to any practice because
Mhm.
part of this work is practicing your boundaries, practicing your no, honoring your no. You can always do less than what the practice is calling for. So you're in control of the practice, and then
Mhm.
you just notice how you feel with the decisions you make. The real tantra is not in doing these practices. The
Yeah.
real tantra is in noticing how it feels to make the decisions you make around the things we're going to prompt.
Yes, exactly.
Even though we believe doing this will help move that energy,
Mhm.
you may find some other path through your yeses and nos.
Yes. I think sound is the third week. And so we're going to be adding in with the breath. How do we add in sound? How do we not only we'll create the sacred container once again, we'll have a lesson on sound and why this is so important. And then we'll have actual somatic practices using sound. Like really being like this is one of our mode, like how I said that the chakra is so narrow. It's because so many oftentimes we are holding back our voice. We're holding back our words, our sounds, our emotions, right? And so how do we activate sound within the body? And that's going to be also really powerful because once you can learn how to move energy with sound, that can be a real enhancer for your sacred sex life, right?
Right.
And then our fourth week will be on movement. So then we're going to be adding in, right? We're layering it up. So we've got the sacred container, we've got our sacred bubble. Now we're doing breath, sound, and then adding in movement. Because when we can add in movement, it's just another energy enhancer to get into the flow. And when you activate that, now where it's becoming much more dynamic. You can learn how to move energy in your body. And then there's also practices that you can learn with a partner to bring all three together for yourself and in unison with your partner.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Sounds great. It sounds
Sounds
great.
good. And then our fifth week is going to be on, it's going to be a Q&A, but also like really listening to everyone throughout the first 4 weeks of what are you interested in? What do you want to learn? What do you want to know? And then it's still going to be sacred space container, how to create your sacred sex life. What does that mean for you? What communications would you like to have around that? And more somatic practices.
Right. What would be the next level of
Yeah.
all of this?
Right. And so we'll match that class to the participants' energy and their needs, desires, and wants.
So yes, these are introductory tools from which we can build on for future work, although
Yeah,
they're powerful all by themselves.
absolutely. So yeah, we're hoping to teach this class so that people get a flavor of our energy, of understanding what Tantra is, having some real solid practices that you can take home with and practice for yourself and really feel the feelings of moving energy in your body through breath, sound, and movement. You're smiling at me.
I like you.
Yeah, and then we're hoping to offer retreats at some point soon. So this is a really great way to feel into this type of work before we can take it to the next level with in-person practices.
Yes.
Yeah. I have added the link to the masterclass in the chat box. So know that you can go there. You can look at, we'll have a week-to-week description in that. We have already done a lot of podcasts that are now either up on Wisdom Rising podcast as well as the YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the conversations, but I like, oh my goodness, to do this in partnership and relationship, whether that's with your relationship with self and understanding yourself on a deeper level or in relationship with another is really profound. Once you're in the coursework, you'll have a lot of those pre-recorded videos there. I'm already adding in some practices so that each week you'll have like, here's another little side practice if you want to do it for sound, breath, or movement. So we'll be adding in some extra bonuses more than just the weekly calls as well.
Yeah, if you get in the class, you can already do chakra dance.
You can. It's so good. So good. It's like my favorite. It really is. Like I get so excited every time he says the word. I'm like, can we do that again, please? Um, yeah. So know that on the week of Thanksgiving, we'll have office hours. And so we'll have our final calls after Thanksgiving. So we'll take a break that week. But if you're like, oh, I've got this question, or I still wish I want an extra class, and we're going to be available to jump on with you, whoever comes that night, but it won't be a formal class.
Correct. So it's
Yeah.
5 weeks of classes and 1 week of office hours.
hmm Yeah. And if you have any questions before class starts, somebody please just reach out. DM me, DM Jim. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and all the places. So, but we are really grateful for you to come on and take the time to learn with us and experience with us.
Yes, thank you very much. It's great to meet you. Hope some of you take the class, and if not, hope to see you around in some other
Some other
moon
capacity.
rising capacity.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening. Take care.
Bye.